Today we'll be doing a minimal and monochrome sketch. Here's the scene. It's a photograph for a restaurant in downtown Toronto. At first glance, it looks very complex. There's a lot going on. But in this video, I'll show you how to use loose lines and hatching to simplify the scene and create a beautiful and stunning sketch. If you're new here, I'm Karan, and I make content that helps rigid rookies turn into loose liners. Basically, I help the beginners turn into pros. Since my composition needs to be precise, I use an HB pencil to roughly sketch out the scene. If you want to see the pencil sketching process I use to draw the composition, the full and uncut tutorial is available on my website, futurecondos.ca/videos. When it comes to inking, I'll be taking my time, but I also just won't be tracing over my pencil work. Remember, the pencils are only guides to help you with your composition. This is probably the hardest part of the sketch, since the wheel turns in on itself. It's not fully circular and it kind of looks a little bit bizarre. I'll then move on to the bench. That essentially takes care of all of the foreground. So I'll be moving on to the midground, which is the foliage. So now I'll be loosely just applying some lines here. These are organic shapes, so I want my lines to be as organic as possible also. While I'm still in the foreground, I'll also do the lamp. The lamp has some of these wonderful vines growing on them. So I'll try to incorporate that as much as I can. Also in the midground is the signage. So now with the midground done, I'll be moving on to the background, which is the building. It's going to be a little bit tricky here because the building has the outside and then it has what's underneath the awning. So I'll start with the outside first, then I'll go into what's underneath the awning. So I'll actually start off with the awning. Keeping my wrist really loose as I'm going across. Even though I use a pencil sketch to help with the composition, I'm not just tracing over the lines. I still want to add some personality. Remember, the pencil sketches are just for guides. They shouldn't dictate your final product. For these little bits of foliage here, I'll just use light touches of the pen just to give the impression of these plants. While I'm up here, I'm going to start drawing shingles on the roof. And for that, I'll just use some horizontal hatching. Trying to keep them as even as possible, but I'm not too worried how straight they are. Go back here and make my line a little darker to show where the roof ends. And this little space, I'm just going to do some vertical hatching. For the awning itself too, I'll just do a couple of vertical hatches. So now that the exterior of the building is pretty much done, I'll now go and draw what's underneath the awning. So starting from the left and going into the right, I'll start with these plants that are jutting out here. And I'm just loosely doing this. I don't actually know what type of plants these are. They're probably ferns. There's some coming from the top. Instead of drawing these out, I'm just doing little dots and dashes here. And now I'll be doing the foliage that is attached to the building itself. I'm stopping right before I get to the midground foliage because I don't want it to seem like it's part of the same bit. Once again, I'm just using organic shapes, some curves. Nothing too straight because these are organic plants that I'm drawing. I'll draw the right side of the building. Then I'll go in and do the window area. For each window pane, I'll just do some vertical hatching. And for the final part of the section, I'll write the name of the restaurant. I can stop sketching right now and this will look pretty good. I would be super happy to hang this on my wall. But there's one last thing I want to do that will knock this out of the park. So this part is going to take the most precision. I'll be drawing the shadow in here by doing diagonal hatching. So starting from the left and moving to the right, I'll be taking my time and drawing consistent diagonal hatch lines. This is my invisible border here, so this is where all of my lines will end. And I want to jump over all of this foliage because they're coming out of the shadow. But I'm going to go over this foliage because it's underneath the shadow. I want to keep the lines as consistent as possible, that's why I just went in and drew that in between. And I'll also go over the windows that I drew. This is the most difficult part about the sketch. And obviously you don't want to touch the foliage that's currently in the sun. But I'm going to keep going till about here. That's about where it ends in the photograph. And that's it. Give yourself a pat on the back if you followed along, because that was very difficult. We'll also do some hatching on the side of the lamp. I want to go in and add some darks, so I'll color in the wheels. Make the signpost thicker, and also the bicycle. I'll just write in the name, which is Hampton's Restaurant. I forgot one thing, and that is the graphic on the signage. Let's look at where we started and where we ended. We went complex to simple. We got rid of all of the noise and anything that wasn't helping the story, and we only kept the essentials. We used vertical, horizontal, and diagonal hatching to help tell our story and add some personality to the scene. For more minimal tutorials like this one, check out the video on the top. But if you tend to get in your own way when it comes to sketching and your art, to the point that you don't even share your work, then check out the playlist on the bottom that will help you with perfectionism and imposter syndrome.